All right, so you got the man, you got the ring. But now what? Before you say I do, there is a lot you have to know, and Susan Hogan joins us now with some important information on hidden costs that a lot of brides don't ask about, but of course you do for us. And the first thing I wanted to ask you about is, you start planning out your wedding, and it looks like, all right, we've got this all budgeted, but it's those hidden fees that they tack on, and you never account for them.
Exactly. You and I both have been married, and it's those things that you really forget about that do add up, especially when it comes to, say, tipping. And I wanted to give you a little bit of tips on tipping protocol. So let's take a look, because this is very important for you. Now, first of all, you've got your limo driver, and you want to figure out as far as how much should you give them. Well, first of all, let's look at limo driver. That is expected 15 to about 20%. Your musicians, that's optional, Lily, if you want to tip them individually. If you do, about $20 a piece.
Maybe of a band.
Absolutely, individual. If your priest or rabbi, that is expected. We don't call it tips, though, with them. That's a donation that you usually give to your church. Your photographer, unnecessary. The videographer, again, unnecessary. It's a one person, you pay them the flat fee.
Right.
That's very important just to know. And look, I mean, those can really add up. That's a few hundreds of dollars. And if you forget about, can add to your expense overall.
The other thing I wanted to ask about is, in terms of just servers and bartenders and the wait staff in the hall, I mean, do you go around and tip every single one of them?
You shouldn't have to. That should be added into the entire cost of your reception. But again, you want to find that out before you go through your whole reception. You want to ask your wedding planner for that hall. What's the protocol there?
Another thing that I know added up for me is I had my dress, but then there were all these alterations. You have to make it a little shorter. You have to pull up the straps and stuff.
Right.
I mean, that starts to add up.
Exactly. Some salons, some of these dress salons, will be upfront and tell you what their costs are. But a lot of times they'll give you these dresses. You'll go for your fittings, but time and time again, they're still not quite right. Your best thing to really do is take it to a local seamstress if you have someone, because I'll tell you, that's where the cost can add up if you do it through the salon where you bought your dress. Ask them beforehand. If it's too expensive, say thank you once you get your dress and get the fittings elsewhere.
Gotcha. And I also wanted to ask you about, a lot of couples are choosing to extend the reception time. Good idea, bad idea? What do you think?
Well, it's a good idea if you want to, if you're having such a great time. But again, hidden costs there as well. So this is what you also want to be careful. Before you get married, ask your wedding planner at that particular reception hall, what will it cost me if I want to stay an hour and a half late? Do not do it during your reception, while you're at the wedding. You've had a few cocktails, you might say, oh, that's fine, it's a few $100s or what have you. Find out the cost before you do that. And you also want to see if that's going to cost with overtime for the wedding planner. You also want to see if that's going to charge, the photographer is also going to charge you overtime as well. If you want to send your photographer home and stay that extra hour yourselves with your guests, but you want to have that going away outfit, put it on quickly first, let him take your shots, and then send him off on his...
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And I know Susan's going to be back with us tomorrow to give us much more ideas about big ideas for small weddings and small budgets. But for now, Courtney will throw it over